My father's fear of piano music has puzzled and intrigued me since I was a little girl. Whenever I would play even short, simple children's songs, he would become visibly uncomfortable and even angry on occasion. He would tell me to stop playing, sometimes yelling until I slammed the keyboard cover down in confusion and frustration at not being able to enjoy something so seemingly harmless. As I grew older, his reactions only intensified when I played, to the point where he would flee the house with the car keys until well after I had finished. My mom said it stemmed from childhood trauma but told me little else, no matter how much I pleaded over the years. My father refused to even discuss the topic at all, leaving me helplessly perplexed. By 17, I was an accomplished pianist, being invited to play at school events and even dreaming of making music my career somehow. But I was never able to share my passion with my dad or even practice much at home. My teacher generously offered me space to play at her studio when needed. And I saved up for a quality digital piano and headphones to muffle any sounds penetrating closed doors, in deference to my father's bizarre affliction. My relentlessly curious mind was always conjuring scenarios to explain his mysterious music phobia as his health and memory sadly declined in later years. Mom said visiting certain past events could be detrimental, so I shouldn't probe him for answers and just accept things as they are. But that was never my style. I had to get to the truth. So one quiet afternoon, I gently brought up the topic while visiting my parents, feigning just wanting to better understand him and not intending any upset. At first he sat silent, a haunted look in his once bright eyes. Finally, he brokenly recounted a deeply scaring childhood incident I could never have imagined. He began hesitantly describing growing up essentially orphaned in a sprawling but austere mansion in the remote Missouri countryside after his parents tragically died when he was quite young. An elderly aunt had taken him in but kept him largely hidden away from guests and offered minimal affection. She deemed children to be nuisances meant to be neither seen nor heard by others, only useful for chores or errands. His overriding company became the home's aging housekeeper and groundskeeper who tended to his needs but still kept conversational interaction to a detached minimum. With no friends or nurturing figures in his life and forbidden to make noise or trouble his aunt, he would often quietly wander the creaky halls alone, left to entertain himself. The only beautiful room he enjoyed escaping to was the darkened formal parlor, housing a stunning grand piano that sat silent and forlorn but beckoned him like a shiny toy begging to be played with. He would pretend to give glorious concerts to throngs of imagined admirers. The fantasy and the urge became overpowering. One winter night at age 13, after ensuring the house staff and aunt were secured in their quarters, my father crept down to the locked forbidden parlor and pulled a bobby pin from his hair to pick open the door. Heart aflutter, he slid onto the bench, gazing reverently at the sleek black and white keys shimmering like a magical portal to a happier world. Hesitantly, he pressed his index finger down, eliciting a single rich note that pierced the heavy silence. Enthralled, he began slowly and gently tapping out, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," as joyful calm washed over him sitting alone in the shadows. My father recounted getting lost in the music, unburdened and free. Suddenly the doors flew open, flooding the room with blinding light that sent my father tumbling backwards off the bench in terror at seeing his furious aunt's silhouette. "Live it up being disobeyed," she commanded he go to his quarters at once, while she handled this disturbance, implying consequences awaited at her discretion. He trembled as he listened in the hallway, awaiting his fate. From below, he heard faint, complex classical music, unlike his usual nursery rhymes. The solemn melody echoed through the house, growing louder and more intense for hours until the thundering notes shook his body. But even over the confusing noise filling the huge mansion, other terrible sounds suddenly filled the air. Screams of agony came from the forbidden parlor where he had foolishly uncovered the family's long-kept secrets. My father jumped up from his chair, yelling that he should not have told me any of this. He said he could not speak more about what happened. My heart pounded as I begged for any little detail to finish the traumatic story. I had to know what happened in that room. Trying to calm my agitated father, my mother jumped in. She said his cruel aunt was rumored to be involved in disturbing occult rituals and forces beyond our understanding. The shadows knew my father had recklessly peeked behind the veil separating this world from others. And once such darkness is seen, it can never be unknown again. I sat shocked, picturing the unimaginable supernatural horrors the innocent boy had unknowingly unleashed as that eerie melody suddenly crescendoed. No wonder pianos elicited pure terror and rage within his fragile mind. Even harmless notes echoed that fateful night's paranormal chaos. My heart broke, picturing his frightened, helpless 13-year-old self desperately covering his ears against the shrieking madness and pounding rhythm. After my father retired to rest in shaken spirits, I urgently pled with my mother to reveal anything else about his cryptic past. I had to understand the sinister secrets tethering him to such irrational pianophobia for any hope of healing my family. Sipping sherry for courage, she sat eyes downcast, hesitant to further agitate mystical forces. But my desperate gaze compelled the truth. She explained how her husband finally found the courage to defy orders to never speak of that night, but could only share brief snippets amid trembling words and tormented cries. He had to repress the gruesome memory, fearful of eternally scarring his psyche. Although the maid herself died before pills came, my father still linked her playing that haunted piano to an evil summoning of murderous spirits from foul realms past our reality's fragile border. As a result, the notes of any keyboard triggered utter primal panic in him. I sat disturbed, goosebumps rising as I imagined the lasting psychological damage from catching sight of such violent dying forces fused to his beloved instrument of imagined escape. My sweet dad was forever traumatized by paranormal forces he accidentally unleashed and helplessly witnessed in horror. My father winces at piano tunes, scarred by horrors I pray to never know myself. We learn that music carries tremendous power. One careless note can unleash and forever echo unseen darkness or healing light. To honor his lasting trauma, I play only graceful melodies to soothe delicate souls.